Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. It is so good to be with you. We're going to spend the next little while talking about money. And this is going to be good for those of you who have felt stressed financially, if any of you have lost sleep over your finances this year, if you've ever argued with a family member about money, your partner, your parents, your siblings, if money stress has ever brought out an ugly quality in you, you're in such good company. I'm so glad you're here. I coach moms professionally, and I work with moms who have way more money than I've ever seen before, and moms who really desperately need more money in order to be well and thrive. And what I can tell you is that financial stress really does not discriminate. All of us feel some level of heaviness around our finances. And I really believe it doesn't need to be that way. In fact, I'm working to help moms not feel stressed financially. And our next group coaching program starts this week. So if you want help in this area, you really could sign up today and we'd have such a good time. But the reason why I'm including the topic of money inside of this coaching series I'm doing on YouTube is because I see the stress of money affecting us negatively so often. And this is coming up in my life, my friend group, like this is a common issue. And so I want to be able to pay some attention to it and see what we can do together to feel better. I want you to treat this video the way I treat decluttering videos, and I'll explain. So I have 3 beautiful children. You might meet them, maybe even inside this video, but definitely if you hang out on my channel, you'll see them. And while I love them and they are so cute, they can be like little storms going from room to room in my house, causing chaos, bringing disorder. And sometimes they storm so hard and so fast that I can't stop them until literally my entire house is in disarray. And yes, they are of an age where they can learn how to clean up after themselves, and they are learning. But sometimes it is so overwhelming that I go to my tall, handsome husband and I'm like, hey, big guy, I need you to take all 3 kids out of the house right now before my head explodes so that I can bring some peace to our space. Now, he does, happily. They leave and I immediately feel frozen. I feel like the disorder, the chaos, the mess is so big that I don't know where to begin. Even though I've cleaned a house before, I've decluttered before, I actually can do it, but I'm frozen by the amount that I'm facing. So what I do, actually, I do this every single time. Now it's my go-to thing, is I come here to youtube.com and I search up a decluttering video, usually Julie Fernandez or The Minimal Mom, and I watch one video, and it's enough to give me like the baby steps to feel better and know what I'm doing. And it's also a little bit kumbaya, a little zen. It's somebody to help me know that I'm not alone, I'm not crazy, I can definitely do this. And then I turn off the screen. I don't keep watching. I don't allow myself to get distracted. I turn it off and I immediately go do something that will bring peace in our home. And I want that for us right now. So we're going to talk about money. I'm going to offer some perspectives. I'm hopefully going to help you feel a little kumbaya, like I said. And then I would love for us both to turn off our screens and go do something that will actually help relieve us of some of the financial pressure we've been feeling, okay? My name is Jessica. I found out when I was little that that means wealthy. I remember at that time thinking, well, perfect, then I'm set. Then one day I'll be wealthy. And though I've lived a very good life and I've been very well taken care of, I have some room for growth, okay? And I aspire to be a rich lady. I aspire to be someone who makes and manages large sums of money. I'm 36, I'm not there yet. It has not happened, but what I felt this year in February, actually, which I can tell that story, but in February, I felt like, okay, if one day my dream is to make and manage large sums of money, that's literally what I wrote down, then what I need to do right now is be faithful and responsible and organized with the smaller sums of money in my possession. Oh, my kids just got home, so you might see them. What really happened is a little bit messier than that, because I have a business called Very Good Mothers Club. Some of you who have been around a while know that. I started it a few years ago with my best friend, and it has been with a heart to serve moms. The actual execution of serving moms has looked different in different years, but it began as a product-based business, and then it was an online community, and then we had the opportunity for the last 2 years to be an in-person location here in LA, where we had an actual brick and mortar store where I served moms. I hosted moms multiple times a week, every single week. And that shop closed in March of this year. And in doing that business, I often have told you that I feel like I'm in business school. I've been learning lessons in real time with my own money, and it hasn't always been awesome. In fact, if I take the business school analogy all the way to the end of this, I want you to know that I have failed some business classes if my business is business school. And that's part of what's been stressful, is things I've tried that haven't worked. They cost us money. And then there's been this thing of like me having to figure out, well, what's next? How do I pivot? How do I change? How do we get this thing off the ground and serve people the way we want to serve them? And it hasn't been easy. At the same time, I am just a person who's accumulated some different debts, who has some spending habits, who wants to grow my income. And in February, for quite a few nights in a row, I was struggling to sleep. I kept waking up in the middle of the night being so stressed about my finances, about my business finances, wanting to pay off debts, wanting to pay back loans, feeling like I did not know what to do. I also had been given some poor business advice like 2 years ago from an accountant who I think just didn't know what he was talking about. But essentially, I had tax issues that I needed to sort out. And I felt like taxes alone was like a foreign language. I didn't know what I was doing. I'd been a taxpayer my whole adult life, but when it came to running a business and sorting through tax issues, I was so afraid of it. And in fact, I had met with an accountant and left and was crying and just felt dumb. Like, what the heck? How am I this old? And how do I have a business? And I have no idea how to navigate finances. And so in the middle of the night, one night in February, I pulled out my notes app on my phone and I started making goals for myself for what I wanted to do financially. And this wasn't goals like future things, like I want to be making and managing large sums of money, though that was on there. It was really about my current situation. I want to pay off certain debts. I want to replenish my savings account so that our emergency savings account is really in a place that feels secure if we have an actual emergency. I wanted to figure out investments, make sure that we are investing. I wanted to learn about investing because that's something I don't really feel confident in. I also knew I needed to handle my tax situation. That was February. It is now July. I want you to know that my financial situation has changed a lot in that time just by paying attention to my issues, making some tough decisions, going and getting help from professionals, going and finding an accountant who was actually patient enough to explain things to me so that I could understand them. I was able to sort out so much. We've actually replenished our savings account already. We have paid off debts already. I feel like genuinely I am on a trajectory that is very good. Whereas if I had continued on the path I was on in February, gosh, I don't know how I'd be sleeping right now, because my posture towards my money was like very fear oriented, was, oh my gosh, I don't know what I'm doing and I'm so scared and I don't know how to fix this. And instead, what I needed to do and what I learned through this was I needed to just begin identifying like, what are the actual problems here? What do I need to do? What are the goals that I have? And what's so cool about this, and you'll understand if you're a parent and you've ever gone through any sort of transition with your child, if you've ever weaned a child or moved them from a crib to a toddler bed, or if you've ever potty trained, none of those things are easy. But what I hear a lot from parents that I work with, they'll say, you know what's crazy? The anxiety leading up to the transition was actually more intense than the transition itself. And that's exactly what I felt about my finances, is my anxiety leading up to actually addressing some of these problems was way more intense than it needed to be. The procrastination was making it worse. The feeling like, but I don't know what to do, that was making it worse. What I needed to do was decide, okay, I don't know what to do, and now is the time that I will start asking smart people questions. I will start finding out who in my life has answers that I don't have, because these money issues that I was feeling so ashamed of are incredibly common. In fact, I had multiple very smart people, men and women, once I opened up about my financial situation, they were like, what the heck? Why wouldn't you tell me about your stress sooner? Like, this is very common. Lots of people feel this. Lots of entrepreneurs feel this. And I just was like, oh my gosh, well, I didn't tell you because I didn't know that. If I had known that this was so common, I would have said something earlier. And that's what I want you to know, friend to friend, whatever your financial stress is, whatever it is, truly. I have a very close friend who started having panic attacks over her debt because she didn't know, basically, like, she didn't know how common it was. She didn't know it was possible to get out of it, and her body was freaking out. That was just a couple of years ago. Now she is financially free in like the best way possible. I wish I could give you details, but it's not mine to give. Anyway, she's doing so good, but it took her basically surrendering and being like, okay, enough is enough. I'm not okay. And this is rooted in my financial situation. I need to get some help, and help came quickly. It did not take long to turn her financial situation around. And in the last week, as I've been processing what I would want to share to a group of moms that I care very deeply about, that's you guys, what I've been thinking about is how in my early 20s, I really struggled with body image and my relationship with food. And this sounds like a strange tangent, but I want you to stay with me because it will make sense. So in my early 20s, I didn't have an eating disorder anymore. I had had one as a teenager, but in my 20s, though I didn't actively have an eating disorder, I had a very disordered or distorted view on my body and food. I didn't know how to relate to it. And I remember thinking at that time that I wished my issue was like alcoholism or stealing candy. Not that either of those are easier, because they're not, and I have alcoholics in my family, I really know. But the thing I felt was like, man, to struggle with something like alcohol, or I'll use a funny example, stealing candy, because that was a true thought I had. If I had an issue with compulsively stealing candy, I would avoid candy shops and I would avoid the candy aisle. And that would be that. Like, sure, things would get weird at Halloween and Easter, but mostly I could live a life that is free from it because I don't require candy in order to live, right? Alcohol, I felt similar. Not to minimize alcoholism because it is horrible, but there is something about the fact that, like, you can avoid alcohol. You could not have alcohol in your house. You can not go to places where alcohol is served. You can let people know ahead of time, like, hey, I don't drink, so could we not have that there? I don't want to see it. With food, it was entirely different. I had to eat food. Our bodies are designed to need food. Not to mention, our culture, Western culture and Eastern culture, all cultures have this thing where we gather around food, we love through food, we connect through preparing food together. Food is so much a part of how we relate and exist, and it's just, you must be able to relate to food. And so to have this issue where I felt really unhealthy in my relationship with food, I did not know how to do it, and I felt like this problem was consuming. Like, I would never get over it. That's how bad I struggled. I thought this will always be my struggle, and I was very discouraged by that. Also, I had a really skewed view of myself. I was afraid that if I ate normally and I had a healthy relationship with food, that it would mean that I would get to a shape that I didn't think was beautiful. But what was crazy is I never thought I was beautiful. The idea that I could see myself and think I was beautiful was really foreign because I had such a dysmorphia when it came to my own reflection. And so I connected so much of my identity with this idea that I need to be beautiful to other people. And yet there was like this block from me understanding that I was already beautiful. I was already good. I was already, like, not even like I'm already attractive, but already, like, as a person, we are just inherently beautiful. You know that. You know how you know it perfectly is when you met your child. Didn't you think they were so beautiful? Like, even if they came out looking a little bit like an alien, isn't there still this sense in you that's like, oh my gosh, you are beautiful. You are beautiful. Like, not you are attractive, you are something to be objectified, but like you in your very essence, in your cells, in the core of who you are beautiful, little child. That is true for little babies, and that is true for you and me. We have in us beauty that is just, it's just in there. And what I had to learn through my struggles with food and body image was I had to learn to really love myself and detach my value from my size and my shape. I had to learn how to relate healthily with food. I needed to use food to nourish my body and to connect with other people. That was one piece. And I needed to learn that I am good and I am lovable and I am beautiful, regardless of my size or my shape, and even regardless of what I would like to change. Because if we don't know in the core of who we are that we are already good and beautiful and worthy of love, then even if we get stronger, even if we get thinner, even if we get surgery to alter the way we look so that we can feel prettier, we don't feel prettier. We know that because we can see on TV and social media people who do all kinds of things to change their body, and it's still not enough because they haven't settled the root issue inside of feeling like they're not good enough, they're not loved. And so in my early 20s, that was the journey I was on. And what I was thinking about this week is, whoa, here I am at 36, and I don't even think about my relationship with food. I just relate healthily to it. And I also, though I'm human and I have very normal like insecurities on any given day where I'll look at a certain part of myself and notice it and then kind of have to talk myself through it, I don't feel insecure about who I am in the way that I did in my early 20s. I feel this deep sense like I am loved, I am good, I am important, and whatever shape my body takes, those things don't change. I could be very this or very that, and my core truth will still be that I am beautiful because that is how I was made. And I can tell you just from my own perspective, I believe that I am beautiful because I believe that the being who made me, the designer, I call it God, but whatever you see that to be, because I know our audience here is diverse, the designer of my body is good, and that designer only makes good things. And so I had to learn, like, I will trust the designer even if I don't totally understand what's happening with the design. And I saw this like so perfectly when I was working at New York Fashion Week. I was in my 20s and I was backstage helping to volunteer with the production of a show. And there was this fashion show where the clothing was so weird. And I don't even know who the designer was. I was never very good at remembering the designers' names unless they were like super, super famous. But the designs looked like jackets made out of condoms. I'm not kidding. Even like the models were like, oh, okay, a condom jacket. But everyone has to be so respectful in how they communicate. And I remember saying to the person next to me who was also helping to get the models ready, like, oh, this is kind of interesting, like a condom jacket. You know, I mean, what I wanted to be like, well, this is kind of hideous. This is so weird. But the person said, oh my gosh, yeah, but this designer is so innovative. You really need to trust the designer. The designer is the best and he knows what he's doing. And I thought it was so crazy because it was as if the person next to me didn't even see how kooky these designs were because he so trusted the designer's attention to detail and expertise. And I thought, whoa, what if I listened less to all of my insecurities about my own size and shape? And what if I listened more to my trust in the fact that the same designer of sunsets and flowers and hummingbirds is the one who designed my body, and I'm gonna trust it the way that this guy trusts that condom jacket is actually cool. I'm just gonna trust it. I'm inspired by his trust and I'm gonna trust it. And I just want to tell you that it has changed my whole life. And so then this past week, I've been thinking about it with money because honestly, money has been a struggle for me, for various reasons. Making money has been hard for me. Learning how to relate to money has been really hard. I worked in my 20s for a nonprofit, so we lived off of donations. I never had to associate like working hard for a certain number of dollars because my work was never connected to how much I got paid. I worked full time, I did my best, and some months I would get paid well if there were like really generous donors giving money to us. And then some months we would get paid paid hardly anything, just enough to survive. And for me, there was no correlation between my work and money. So then to start a business, it became very challenging for me to know how to sell myself and charge people things and let them know how much my work is worth, because my heart is like, well, you all deserve help. You all deserve care. Everyone should be provided for. But that's not how the economy works. And when it comes down to it, that's not how I'm going to provide for my family, is by working for free, especially because I wasn't running a nonprofit. I didn't have donors. I have customers. And so I need to charge appropriately. And I have been doing work on social media for nearly a decade, very seriously for the last 6 years. And that has messed with my identity. I've struggled because I have attached my worth to the money I am making or not making, and I've attached my worth to my success. If people think I'm successful, then I feel successful. If they don't, then I don't. And after I had cancer, a lot of brands that I had been working with stopped working with me because I had paused all of my work. And also my views haven't been up, and that's fine. All of it's fine. I'm telling you this because what I've been realizing recently is that I had so connected my sense of identity, my goodness, my worth, my whole well-being. It's like I would feel good if my work was going good and providing, and I would feel bad if it wasn't. And what I realized is I'm in this other transformation now. I had this transformation that took place around food and body image, and now I have a new opportunity to be transformed around money, where I get to decide, nope, I'm already good. I am already enough, whether I make a lot of dollar bills or a few dollar bills. That does not change my worth as a person. And then I can go, okay, cool. Now, as a business person, how can I be strategic about my business? What do I need to change? What needs to end? What needs to start? Like, these are separate decisions. But if I've attached my worth to these decisions in any way, they're going to be a lot harder. And I'm going to flow through life with this sort of desperation. Like, I need this to work because this defines me. And I don't want to be defined by that. And so anyway, I'm being open with you about this process for me because what I realized is we're not going to change our financial situation without first addressing our core beliefs around money. Are we operating with money from a place of like, I need money to define who I am. I need a bunch of money to prove to other people that I'm successful. A lot of times what I see is actually people going into debt to appear successful to people who don't even really like them that much, and then they're stressed about their own finances because they're in debt and they don't want to be, and because they're trying to prove something to people who don't really care about them, they're isolated. That is like a double negative. We're not trying to do that. So it's digging inside and going, what do I think about money? What have I learned? What are the things my parents accidentally taught me? Some of us have fantastic parents who have taught us really good things. My in-laws taught my husband something that has served our life so much. They constantly are telling us, live within your means, live within your means. And they taught my husband about debt and how debt, well, I don't know if they taught him this, because what I'm going to say is, my husband had internalized this idea that debt is bad. Just debt in general is bad. So we lived a lot of our life without any debt, which I'm super thankful for. But actually, as we've been growing and learning, there are some debts that are good, which you probably already know. Again, I'm not telling you anything new, but like a debt for an education that's going to get you a job, that's going to pay off in the end, good. Or a debt to take care of your mental health or your physical health so that you can be well and thrive, and ultimately you'll pay that off, good, right? There's certain things that you're going to go in debt for that ultimately in the long term are the right thing to do. And then there's some things we go in debt for that are impulsive, that are unwise, that are just flat out mistakes. Oops, we did that. And so then we need to figure out, how do we pay off that debt? When it comes to paying off debts, there's a few ways people do it. One is like the avalanche method, where they start with the one with the highest interest rate. If you've got like multiple credit cards, you focus on the highest interest rate and try to pay that off the quickest. Others do the snowball method, which maybe is like what Dave Ramsey did. I've never done that, but where you're starting with the lowest debt and then you're paying that off first, and then it snowballs into the highest. Either way, it's going to require you to be really honest about the debts that you have. There's an app that I got. Also, none of this is sponsored. These people don't even know I'm here. But I got an app called, I think it's like Rocket Money, where, yeah, it shows you everything about your money, and it can even help negotiate for you with credit card lenders. Is that what that's called? A credit card company, to lower your interest rates. And it has just been really helpful for me. It shows you every day, like money coming in, money going out. It can help you organize your finances, and it helps you pay attention to subscriptions. Some of us have subscriptions we didn't even realize we have, and it can cost a lot of money. I have friends who, they've been like really sad when they figured out that they were paying lots of dollars every month for a service that they didn't even realize was still in their name. And so I would recommend doing something like that. I'll link everything below that I'm doing. But I want you to first reflect on what is it that you believe about money that's maybe driving your relationship to it. One way you could ask yourself this question and actually journal about it is ask yourself, what do I want my kids to learn about money through watching me and how I relate to money? I can tell you that when it comes to the way I'm teaching my kids about money, we teach them about saving, giving, and spending. And anytime they get money, they can do all three of those things. So they save some, they give some, and they spend some. And sorry, my nose got itchy. I feel like I just keep scratching my nose. Okay. What is it, like 3 days ago, my son, he's 6, he's so great, and he loves to shop. He wanted some more Legos. And I went into his room, and his room he shares with his sister. It was so messy that I could not walk inside. It was overwhelming. And truly, it made me so like angry and frustrated, and it did bring out goodness, that's for sure. And I told him, hey, there's not a chance on this earth that your mother will be buying you a Lego. It was his money. He had just gotten birthday money. Not a chance I'll be using your money to buy you a Lego until you guys go into your room and organize it. And he was like, I don't think I can organize this. And I looked around and I said, what if we start bagging up your toys and giving them away? We have a place where we can donate a bunch of toys. We'll make space. We'll get rid of all the trash in your room. We'll get rid of a bunch of toys. And then at the end of that, once everything's organized, we can talk about getting you something new. He was open to it, which is actually crazy because he is not the kind of kid who gives stuff away. He's like my hoarder. The girls are much better at giving stuff away. But no, he was down. So we took trash bags. We gave away so many toys. I wish I could show you. It was like 14 bags of stuff, clothes and toys that we bagged up and gave away that night. We organized everything that was left in his room. It was very simple. It was so good for the soul. And then that night, we ordered him the Lego that he wanted with his money. And having this thing play out in front of me spoke to me a little bit of maybe like the principle around wanting more money. Some of us want more money, and some of us lose sleep over that desire for more money. Some of us, it's what we talk about, we stress about, we're trying to figure out how do we get more money. I wonder if what we might need to do first, or maybe alongside our desiring more of an income, is look at what we already have and organize it. What can we get rid of? What can we donate? What can we give away intentionally? And then how can we make sure what we have is actually tended to and cared for? There is this principle, and it's from the Bible. So if you're a Bible person, you'll like this. Be faithful with little so you can be trusted with much. I'm kind of botching that, but that's the idea. If we are not responsible for the little that we have, even when we get more, it will be overwhelming. There are plenty of rich people on this earth who are not happy. I promise you, I've met some of them. If we can learn to cultivate joy with whatever we have, if we can be organized, if we can be generous, this is like a key thing that I have seen over and over again. If you want to be a happy person, be a generous person. Some of you aren't generous because if we dig deep, you find out you're not generous because you were once taken advantage of. You had somebody in your life who took money without asking. I was working with a girl and she said she had a roommate who constantly made her pay for everything, and she rationalized it with like, well, you make more money than me, so you should do that. But it never was like, hey, would you mind covering me? It was always this assumption, and it did not feel like this woman was being generous. It felt like she was being taken advantage of. What that did for her now, like a decade later, was it made her not instinctively be generous with people. She said she doesn't even remember to like offer to buy someone something or cover a meal or send someone a gift because she's lived so long guarded due to something that happened previously. I don't know what keeps you from being generous, but I want to encourage you to be someone who looks out for the needs of others, who donates, who thinks of a friend and Venmos them money for no good reason. You will be so surprised at the goodness that comes into your life. This isn't just like, if you send someone money, money will come back to you. Though I've seen that happen in crazy ways. We gave a car away once, and then a few years later, someone out of the blue gave us their car. Like unrelated, but I was like, what? Did that? Anyway, no, this happened the other day too. I was praying about money, and I was like, okay, what if instead of stressing about money, I like act in the opposite spirit and I think about someone else who's in a worse financial situation than me, and what if I send them a little something to remind them that I believe in what they're doing? And I did. Not kidding you. 45 minutes later, I'm walking out of the building and there's a guy there who's an old friend of my husband, and he just hands me cash and is like, hey, I'd love to contribute to you and your husband having a date sometime. Are you kidding me? Anyway, so I'm not being like, give so you can receive, because that's actually not what I'm talking about. But if it does happen to you, you should let me know, because I freaking love stories like that. But I'm just saying, if you want more joy, you want more fulfillment in your life, be a giver, be a joyful giver. That's what I tell my kids all the time. It is so fun to be a joyful giver. Why don't we do that? Yeah. And then what else? Oh, I wrote here, just grow your skills. If you're somebody who wants to grow your income, maybe look for opportunities to grow your skills. I have the most random part-time job right now. I am doing payroll. I'm not a numbers person, but I am loving it. A friend of a friend knew about me and knew that I needed some income, and they decided to hire me, even though I'm not the best numbers person, and I am having such a good time. I am learning so much. What are you learning, Jessica? Oh, well, here's one thing I'm learning. I'm learning that women ask for raises way less than men do. And you know how I know that? Because I can see in the notes when everyone's asked for raises, and the women aren't asking for raises, and they're working the same jobs as the men, and they are getting raises eventually when the company catches on and is like, oh, weird, this person should be getting paid this much, just like all these other men. I'm even on email chains where I've seen the way this is going down, and the company is awesome and they want to honor everyone for their work. But it's sort of like when a company's growing and they're big, and I don't know, they put out the first fire that comes to them, right? So the first person who comes and says, hey, can I get a raise? Do you know what happens? They get a raise. And then the next person comes and they get one too. And you know who's not asking for them? It's us, it's the women. And so I just want to shout you out. If you're a woman and you're working and you're like, maybe I deserve a raise, could you just ask? The worst thing that happens is they say not right now, but you might as well try. Okay, and then the last thing, oh yeah, it's this end of this video. So I asked the wealthiest woman in, well, she's not, there's other wealthy people in my life too, but this woman is wealthy and very happy, which I just think is a rarity, and you know that. And so I asked her, what should I tell you guys? And she's the one who said, if you saw my little YouTube short, she said, encourage the moms to make magic, not money. Focus more on living a magical life than a life full of money, because you can live a really good life without money. But if you don't cultivate that, then even when you have money, you'll find a reason to be unhappy. And so then she was telling me all these imaginative, creative things she did when she didn't have money, but she had a young child, to have a wonderful full life, like potlucks with friends. So she could host, but she didn't have to provide all the food. People could come together, or park picnics, or making art. Like art supplies is not an expensive thing to do. Also, a lot of times kids just want to play outside with you. To do something that is really special for a kid most certainly does not need to cost money. The world has tricked us into that, because the world loves your money, because moms are the money spenders of a house. Did you know that? When I started working in social media, I learned that an audience of moms like you guys, brands want to pay big money to run an ad on a like social media influencer. If you're following any influencers and they feel like they're constantly selling you things, they are, because brands know that moms are the spender of the house. My husband is a skateboarder professionally, and he has a larger audience than me on Instagram, but brands would pay me more because you guys spend money and the skaters don't. I'm telling you that because I want you to know you're being targeted. If you're feeling like, gosh, everybody's offering me something and I want to try and go a week without spending any money, but then I get on there and someone's telling me I absolutely have to have a pink cup that's the size of my head, you don't. Take a few days. I hate the sound of the cups when they fall. Be thoughtful, be intentional about the things you're spending your money on because you're being targeted. We live in a world that loves your money, darling. Recognize the season that you're in. It's okay to have a season of life where you're focusing on nourishing your family or your health, connection. And then there will be other seasons where your kids don't need as much of your time and attention, and you're going to be so exceptional in the workplace if you want to go and get a job or do something that makes you money, because you are spending these years learning how to juggle. And if you're a woman who already has a career and a family, you're juggling a lot already. If you want to talk more, you could join the coaching group because I'd love to chat with you. But I want you to have grace for yourself, because this season that you're in of raising kids and having to figure out your finances, it is temporary. It is one that matters so very much. You are not losing anything. You will not regret any of the time that you spend investing yourself into your kids. And eventually you can be someone who's making more money or feeling more like, I don't know, you have more time to give to your financial situation. But yeah, if you're in a lot of debt, a lot, like I have some loved ones who have been in a lot of debt, there are companies that you can seek out that will help consolidate your debt, and then you can pay off just like the company itself. I have a friend who did that and it was life-changing. I know that there are scams as well. I have a family member who was scammed by one and it's really bad. So I'm going to find some that are not scams and I'll list them below. I'm also going to link what I've been using to have my kids invest, because I've been investing in my kids' like future investments every single week. And it's really cute. And there's an app that makes it so easy. It's called Acorns. So I'll link that below. And then I also got a Roth IRA, which is an investment account that grows over time. So you put the money in, you don't get it out until you're old and gray. But it's crazy. I put money in just a few years ago, and forgive me, some of you are money people and you're like, Jessica, you were talking like a dummy, but you have no idea what you're talking about. True. Thanks for hanging out this long. I really don't know this process, but I got a Roth IRA because someone smarter than me told me to. And watching my money grow has been crazy. So I have money in a savings account that's not really growing at all, and then money in the Roth, and I can see that it's growing over time. So definitely look into that. And I will also link the app that I'm using for that. We live in such a cool time where it's making some of this stuff very simple that used to be very complicated. And my hope for you is that you can feel free. I want you to remember that you are not your money. You are not more or less valuable based on the number of dollars you have in your bank account or your investment account. People who are super, super rich lose money all the time. People who don't have any money suddenly make a lot. Things can change so very quickly. So cultivate joy, cultivate some good habits around spending. We don't want to be impulsive buyers. Oh, here's my last thing, okay? My last thing. Some of you are buying your kids stuff because you feel guilty. Guilt spending. This is real. This is happening a lot for those of you who are working moms. Maybe you feel like you're not getting enough time for your kids, or if you're going through a divorce, or you have a health issue or grief, something that has made you feel like you're a little distant from your children. You are buying them so much crap they don't need, and you don't feel good about it. And ultimately, it's crowding their room with stuff that they really don't need. So, darling, every time that's about to happen, I want you to remind yourself, I'm a very good mom. I want you to go hug your little baby if you can. Tell them that you love them so much. You love being their mom, and let that be good enough, okay? And if you want to buy them a toy, first go like check under their bed or check under the back of the closet somewhere hidden and see, is there an old toy that they have but they've forgotten about, but it got tucked somewhere? Because that could feel like a new toy, and that doesn't have to cost you anything, okay? All right. I think that's all. Thanks for being here with me. This isn't edited. It's going up right now. If you want to be in the next coaching program, it starts in a few days. I would love to see you there. You're doing so good. Okay, see you soon. Bye.